was this doctor's worst patient. I just said to my husband, I don't want to breastfeed. I don't think I'm going to enjoy Everything around breastfeeding changed for me. Newborn cry, it's the most beautiful sound in the world. As a midwife, you're supposed to... Last time I left off was basically when my water broke at home. This part is about the birth. So anyways, I called my husband at work and I'm like, Lovey, my water just broke. And he was like, okay, I'll be there. Call my folks. I'm on my way. So his parents lived close by. I called them. They took forever. And it's so funny. They dressed up. I thought they would be there in like 5 minutes. I was ready with my bags and waiting, like, where are these people? And it's just water coming out. I've got like 2 or 3 pads and I've got a towel. I'm like, people, where are you? And here they rock up. My father-in-law is in like a suit. My mother-in-law looks like she's going to church. I already called my doctor from home as well. So he said he will meet me there. And about 20 minutes later, my hubby arrived and I was like, okay, now things can get going. And here the doctor is talking to me about a C-section, which we actually decided on before because one of the girls at that point was lying breech. And I didn't want to deliver normally or vaginally with twins and one being breech. And he sits there and he tells me, okay, he's going to book a theatre. Are we still sure this is what we want? And I was like, no, I'm not sure. And I could see my husband in the corner of my eyes. He's like, excuse me, what was that now? Oh, what do you mean no? We said this is the way we wanted to do it. And I was like, you know what? No, I don't know. Maybe I just want to push. And I saw the blood drain from his face and he was freaking out. But at that point, both girls actually turned head down already. And he said to the doctor, just let us talk for a little bit. And let me just see what is going on inside her head. And I was like, you know what? I'm feeling fine. The contraction's a little bit sore. And then he's like, what are you doing? We said we're going to have a C-section. I'm like, yeah, but I don't know. I feel okay. And then the doctor came back and I was just really, really freaked out about a C-section. I knew what was going on in C-section. I've attended hundreds, if not thousands. I knew every step. And I just, in that moment, I was like, I'm not doing this. Anyways, what actually swayed me in the end was the doctor saying, listen, it is completely your choice. But remember, it's a Sunday night. Of course, from every moment it could have been, it was a Sunday night at like 10 o'clock. And he said, if you go into labor and there's any problems at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., remember, there's no one here. We need to call in the theatre staff. I need to come from home. I'm not far. If you're okay with that, you know the drill. You've worked in these hospitals before, then that's fine. If you want it over and done with, we can go to theatre now. As a midwife, you're supposed to be chilled because you know what's going on. I was the opposite of chilled. I think I was this doctor's worst patient during that time because I saw him quite regularly that I didn't even tell my husband about. I was convinced at some point something was falling out. Like I was really a bad patient, I think. But anyways, your mind just, every little piece of information that was good about pregnancy and childbirth went poof. And every bad thing that could happen was like in my mind and was like, oh my word, am I having this? Is this happening? Is this happening? So any case, that was enough to convince me in that moment to say, hell no, I'm not going to risk it at 3 a.m. I didn't have any confidence in myself to be patient and wait and just be okay because while he was talking, I was watching this monitor non-stop because obviously I know what it looks like if a baby goes into distress, and I was just watching this monitor. Are both my babies fine? Are they fine? And I couldn't see myself doing that for hours on end, not knowing what's going on. I don't know if I ever have to do it over again, if I would feel different, because it freaked me out that there were 2 and I was always worried. I know one is okay and I don't know the other one is okay. At the same time, also when they were like kicking, the one girl was really active and the other one was very mellow, and I would always worry about her. Is she still okay? Every time we go to the doctor for an ultrasound, I would be fearfully looking up at the screen on both heartbeats there. I was a nervous wreck, absolutely a nervous wreck. So I said, okay, fine, I'll sign, and we signed the consent. And then the pediatrician came and he was talking me through everything that they were going to do. Because it's 33 weeks, they're both going to the NICU or the neonatal ICU. And all I remember from that conversation was looking, there was an aircon in the corner. I remember where the aircon was. And I was looking at the aircon thinking, can someone please switch the damn aircon on because this is hot in here. I had like one of those clipboards and I was just like waving it. Actually, here's a picture that you can see. And my husband was even waving it at some point. Like, I'm ready to rip these belts off and charge as fast as I could out of this ward and go outside where I can find some cool air and people can leave me alone. But okay, I think that might be a normal reaction or it might not be. Moms don't really tell you about these feelings. You can always just see if it's like an emergency C-section, their eyes are big and they talk a little bit to their husband, but they don't always share a lot with you. Man, it's different being on the other side. That was not fun. But okay, so off we went to theatre, 10:30, start cutting and first baby is out and I freak out again. And I tell my husband, why is she not crying? And he's like, she's fine. They're just like suctioning her, but I could feel like they were taking her out. But there's no crying. And I'm like, she's not crying. And he's like, just don't worry. And he peeked over, she seems okay. I'm like, she's not crying. She is not crying. And then I heard the first cry. Okay, one is out. I'm going to just add a little insert right here. So we thought that my girls were fraternal twins and they ended up actually being identical twins. So as you might know, fraternal twins are quite safe to deliver vaginally, but identical share a placenta. With identical twins, you can deliver normally or vaginally, but if the placenta is shared, you risk that the second baby that is still staying behind can be deprived of oxygen when the placenta starts coming loose after the first baby is born. And we didn't know that they actually shared a placenta. So if things had gone south, if I had to deliver vaginally and the placenta started coming loose, my second girl could have been in like some serious life-threatening danger. But that is why I'm forever grateful that we made the decision and that my husband sat down with a pep talk and told me, listen, this is what we decided, because he possibly saved her life that day. Now the second one. And again, they took her out and she's not crying, she's not crying. And then I heard the cry. And I mean, I'm going to put a little clip in here that you can just hear this newborn cry. It's the most beautiful sound in the world when you have this newborn cry, because you know in that moment, okay, maybe it's going to be okay. But I was actually shaking violently throughout. It started before we got to theatre. And you know, they give you medication that can make you shake, but also the adrenaline and the build up. I couldn't stop. I couldn't really talk even because I was shaking too much. And then obviously when they took the girls to the ICU, to the NICU, hubby had to go with. So he left me all alone. Obviously he asked, am I going to be okay? And I said to him, no, go see that the girls are okay. And it was actually quite a blessing. One of my very good friends was the birth photographer that took all these pictures. And I specifically asked her to do it in black and white. I don't know why, that's some meaning to me. And I'm glad she did. I really like these pictures. And the hospital stay was actually really crappy. I don't know what they were thinking, but they didn't look after me at all that night. Like, I'm a fresh C-section. It's 2 a.m. I didn't see a single person until 6 a.m. that morning. And I mean, I'm a big risk. I had a twin pregnancy. I was a C-section. So bleeding is a very big risk. I mean, if I say big, it's not like you are guaranteed to like hemorrhage to death, but it is a possibility if you are post-user, and if you have twins, it's even bigger. And no one came to check on me. They were taking my blood pressure. There was a machine that was running on its own here. The thing was faulty. It went off every 5 minutes. So by this time I'm exhausted. I haven't slept at all the whole night, and this BP machine is going off every 5 minutes. But luckily I knew how these machines work because I worked with them before. So I changed the settings. I set it on record to record my blood pressures. I changed the interval to every half an hour, and then I actually got some sleep. And then I still had the spinal, so I couldn't feel my legs. I couldn't even feel if I was bleeding or not. So when I woke up, I would feel like the bed behind me and see if there's any blood, and I would press on my uterus and feel it's still feeling contracted. I couldn't even reach the bed bell. It was like hanging on the wall behind me, so I was really disgusted. But all I wanted to do was sleep at this point in time, and I got some sleep. And then early in the morning, the doctor came to fetch me, and he's like, listen, when you're up, I want to take you to meet your girls, because I only saw them quickly in theatre when they held them up. I haven't seen them after that. So when my hubby came quickly before work, he helped me. That first shower was not fun. So if I can give anybody advice here, if you are due for pain medication, take it first, then go shower. And like I said, I knew that. I just didn't follow the rules. For some reason, I was not thinking clearly in pregnancy or postpartum. Clearly not. It was the first time I held only one of them that day. And you can see my face was really puffy. I still had a lot of water retention, at least for like 2 weeks after, and slowly it started going away. And this was the second day, and you can see when I found this picture now to make this video, I was quite shocked to see the circles under my eyes from the lack of sleep, and this was just like day 2. But obviously I was up every 2-3 hours to pump. I couldn't breastfeed yet, they were too small. If you can see on these videos here that I'm putting up for you, how they were teaching them with these very special preemie dummies or pacifiers to suck so that we could get breastfeeding going. But yeah, so I was pretty tired here. And then this picture is very close to my heart because this is the very first time I held both of them. Not coming without its drama, because I asked the NICU nurse that day if I could hold both of them, because the previous 2 days there was a lovely nurse and I was holding one and my husband was holding the other one, and then I said, but I want to hold both of them. And this particular day this nurse was on some power trip and she said, no, there's too many wires and the baby's not comfortable, and she made up all these excuses basically because she wasn't in the mood to like help and fiddle with all the wires. And I broke down in tears. My husband was a little bit embarrassed and he was just like, no, just leave them. Don't, why are you crying now? I'm like, dude, this is day 2 postpartum. This is just emotions. I can't even stop it. I'm not even trying to cry. It's just, I'm bawling my eyes out. And, you know, it was good enough to make the nurse feel bad. So eventually she's like, well, fine, I'm going to give both of them to you, but you mustn't move. You can't move for like at least half an hour. Fine, give them to me. And I sat like this for 45 minutes. My arms were a little bit dead, but I was not going to give her the satisfaction of knowing that I'm actually quite sore and tired, because I got to hold both my girls and I got to like look at their faces and see what they look like and just take it all in, you know. Actually, if you want to see how my pregnancy progressed from week 9 until I delivered, there's a video that I'm going to be making soon. But just back to the breastfeeding that I mentioned right in the beginning. From everything around midwifery, I didn't really enjoy breastfeeding. My personality is a little bit impatient and you need a lot of patience for breastfeeding. I always help the moms, and you know, I think I did a really good job to help them and support them. And you know, if the baby didn't want to latch, I would stand there with a little teaspoon and express colostrum and draw it up in a syringe and give the baby. I did everything that I was supposed to do, but I didn't enjoy it. And I just said to my husband, I don't want to breastfeed. I don't think I'm going to enjoy it. And you know how that changed? The moment I saw my girls lying there in NICU and the doctor's asking me, did you get any breast milk? Did you express? I was like, yeah, I tried, and I was adamant they're going to get colostrum. So that day I started hand expressing. And then the nurses would take the syringes. I mean, it's so little, it's a tiny little syringe. And then they would take it through to the NICU every 2-3 hours. And I don't actually remember when we tried to latch them for the first time. That's too long ago. But it was either day 2 or day 3 that we tried, and they obviously struggled. They were really tiny. They didn't really know how to latch, but I was there. They were in the neonatal ICU for 2 weeks. I was there every single day from around 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Most days. At every feed, I would try and latch them. Everything around breastfeeding changed for me. I was adamant that I wanted to breastfeed, and then they got it right. And we went home when they were gestationally 36 weeks, which is rather early. Normally, they want to keep babies until like 38 weeks, sometimes even until 40. But the doctor, the pediatrician, was so happy with how they were breastfeeding. He was like, "Shot, you can go home." And they were only 36 weeks. They were just over 2 kilos when we took them home. You can see this picture when we took them home. They look like little dolls in these car seats. When I look at this picture now, I'm thinking, what the hell was I thinking? They were so freaking tiny. I was exclusively breastfeeding for up till about 4 months. And then when I had to go back to work, I unfortunately had to start supplementing because I just couldn't get the time during the day to pump enough. From not wanting to breastfeed at all to my husband was very supportive of it. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I only breastfed until they were about 8 months old. And then it was like, I felt ready to stop. But if I ever had to do it all over again, I think I would love to continue. It was really an amazing journey to be able to feed 2 babies, and they were thriving. I really surprised myself there. But anyways, before this is getting too long enough, it's been a very healing journey to tell my story. I didn't have any bad things happening that I would call like birth trauma. I mean, birth trauma comes in many forms, and many people, many women rather, don't even realize that they have experienced birth trauma. They think this is just the way it is. And there's so much healing in sharing your story, because that makes it real, that makes it mine. It's not what I envisioned. I wanted the most natural birth in the water at home, and with a spiritual feeling that I could ever imagine. And I ended up having the most medicated birth that you could possibly have. And it took some time for me to come to terms with that, especially as a midwife. I felt like I failed in some way for a while to not do it the normal way. But you know, it's my story. It's very special. I look at these pictures, and when I look at them, I don't feel sad at all. I feel like there is a magical moment, because when you hear your baby cry for the first time, whether it is in a forest, whether it is at home, in the water, in the car, on the operating table, that first cry, that is magic. So yes, I don't know if I can do pregnancy again though. I feel like I have PTSD from all the vomiting. Like my throat was raw at some point. I really don't know if I can do that again. But you know, only time will tell. I know every pregnancy is different, but we'll see. I don't know. But anyways, I wanted to share my story because maybe there's someone out there who needed to hear this because they wanted to relate. Maybe you're just curious and you want to know what it was like having a twin birth, or what it was like for a midwife to go through the whole experience. But anyways, thank you if you're still here. Thank you for listening, and please feel free to share your birth story or something that was really special or not that happened during your birth, because you know, everybody's story deserves to be told. It's a major life-changing event for everybody. And yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.